Sê vir die mense oor die man wat die sand gevat het in sy mond gesit het.
Ek ken.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
question is, who is your craziest or most interesting relative? I think even if it's not relative, because our relatives are going to come for us, maybe someone that we know. So I'm going to answer the question, but the relative that I'm going to talk about is no longer alive, but his stories still live until now. So it's Benny, Uncle Benny. So Uncle Benny was an uncle of ours that we got through the choir when my parents were singing in Arewado. Then he was also in that choir. So this guy, gosh, this was the funniest, most embarrassing, but also the most consistent guy that we could that we had ever encountered in our family. And I so wish that you met him, because no, he would have brought down my street cred. There's no way. This guy there, he was doing the strangest things that I've never seen anyone else do. So one of the things that he would do is he would eat an onion like an apple, because he wouldn't want the parents to get the smell of him smoking. So when he maybe quickly went to go smoke scalumpies and the parents call him maybe to send him, because he would like help daddy out a lot, take us to school, go get us from school. If we had to travel long distances, he would drive us, the kids, for holidays and go get us. And so he was that guy that was really helping the parents. So if the parents maybe call him after he'd gone for a secret smoke, then he just comes in the kitchen and takes an onion and starts eating the onion. Or if he's in the room and the parents call him, he'll take a roll on the deodorant spray and spray it in his mouth. Just so that they don't get the smell. Even in the mornings there, when you're ready to go to school, so he had to take us to school and bring us back and so forth. You're ready to go to school, your bola is done, your edges, did we have edges back then? Edges are laid or whatever. As you're leaving the door, ne, to go get in the car, it's like coming to a tear makarma. It's a Kauge, that man was crazy. Like, I could tell you stories for days. And then what else? But he taught me how to tie a tie. He actually taught me how to tie a tie. He loved reading. He loved reading Huisgenoot. So in Huisgenoot, there was like a step-by-step tutorial on how to tie a tie. So when he read it, he was like, come here. I think it was my first year in high school. So it was the first year that I had to tie a tie. So I was like, come here, let me show you how to tie a tie. And on my knee, that is how he actually taught me how to tie a tie. That's how I tie your ties and daddy's ties. And
Okay.
yeah. And what else? He was and he was not the most good-looking person. He had like big round eyes and like a big forehead, and but he was also a bodyguard man. Ons was nie gemors nie as ons met ou Benzo was. Eendag, one day, on our way from school, ek sit links voor en hy ry. He's like, no man, Sharon, my arms are tired. I don't want to drive anymore. Hold the steering wheel. And then I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no, hold the steering wheel. And he left his hands and he left the steering wheel and the car is going in another direction, my love. Little did I know that he was controlling the steering wheel with his knees. I panicked that day. And then I held the thing with this hand. And I'm like, what is wrong with this man? The cherry on top of the cake. When the car was low on fuel, I was driving the car in reverse the whole way, my love. So and I used to sit in front with him. So when we are driving, he's just there checking at the back and driving. Then I'm literally staring at the car and the driver and the people that are behind us. So that was old Benzo. May his soul continue to rest in peace. But that was one of the craziest memories we had. Oh my gosh, yeah.
okay, first year of being married, right? To be honest, those were the crucial stage in our marriage. There was baie interessant geweest. There was a date like that was now the time that you know, okay, I'm married to this person, and I'm gonna spend the rest of my life with this person. And to be honest, it was the best times of our lives. You know, newly married, no kids, nothing. It's just me, myself, and my wife getting to know each other, and till this day, our first apartment that we had. When I drive past it, I still look at it every day.
Every time we drive past it, actually.
We had this room that was so big. There was direct sunlight.
Beautiful sunlight.
Beautiful, you know.
And it was like a 1-bedroom apartment.
We were so young. It was really the best times of our lives, to be honest. And I remember my wife, you know, trying to impress me in the kitchen. You know, and
were you impressed?
I was impressed. There was a blunder though, but I was impressed.
Oh no, but that was not at our apartment.
Yes.
You married me even despite the blunder, because I tuned the blunder when I was still your girlfriend at your mother's house. Imagine who does that at your mother-in-law's house.
Yeah, so it was like just the way that we got, you know, had the time of our lives to get to know each other, spend time alone together. Sort of, the family knew that we were newlyweds and nobody was actually bothering us, you know.
Rocking up unannounced.
Yeah. So
although the first 4 months, I was traveling back and forth.
Yeah.
Because I was based in Windhoek.
Yeah, but that didn't, you know.
It didn't really hamper,
because we were already in a long distance type of thing, but we knew that we were working towards, you know, staying
living together. Yeah, because I also, when I got married, I moved out of my parents, so I never lived on my own. You also never lived on your own before we got married. And only after we got married is when both of us moved actually out of our parents' house to move in together. And that was our first year of being married.
It was very interesting. It was fun. The first year was fun. It was white, like white as snow, like
so much light.
So much light.
Carefree. It was just the two of us. That is all that mattered. Although I had issues adjusting in Wolfish Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to start a new work, something that I had never done before. I'm moving to a town that I've never lived in for so long before. And I had natural hair. And Wolfish Bay weather is not natural hair friendly, and every day I was just like, man, I just want to go home. But then I come home to my guy, and then he just makes it worth a while. And those were just little obstacles or little hurdles that eventually we had to go through. And even just to understand that, you know, it takes time to adapt. It was all a shock to my system. So many new things were happening at once. But the moment that I really could open up and I was really open and honest, and maybe at the time for this guy, I was like, what does hair have to do with, you know, how you feel or the weather or whatever? But I'm like, it is actually linked. And, you know, I go to work with one outfit and then I feel so cold, and like I had to get in, you know.
My feet was always cold.
My feet were constantly cold because I was wearing open shoes, and I was like, no man, this weather. And the day I decide to wear warmly, then the sun is out, and your Wolfish Bay was just doing the most. But we overcame it, you know. It was those little things, and at least at coming back home, I could be Sharon, you know. I could do the cooking, test out different recipes, try out things that I didn't even do at my mom's home.
The recipes was quite interesting. Like I think that first year, you know, but now my wife is pretty diverse when it comes to recipes. But the first year, she was abusing some recipes. For that.
I was not abusing. I was just cooking in bulk because I was trying to meal plan or whatever. And then I would cook like a lot of food at the same time. And it's just the two of us. And then I would expect Asmus now to eat this food for at least the next 3 days. But it's just the same thing. I didn't like even try and switch anything up or pay it with something else. And my guy, like we have it Sunday lunch. Monday you take the same food for lunch. And then we come eat the same food again in the evening. No ways, no ways. He did not think it was a joke.
But it was a good recipe. I can still remember it. It was
sometimes I cook it now.
Mac and mince and something. But during the time when my wife was adjusting, the things that one of the things that we would frequently do was to go out.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that she was struggling, I used to take her out.
It's spontaneous date nights.
And
then I would wear a short dress, and then it would get cold in Office Bay, and then I'm like, ugh.
So that helped her a lot, just the conversations. It helped her a lot.
Yeah, it even distracted me from, this thing of trying to feel at home, because I also didn't know a lot of people. I didn't know my colleagues. The only people I knew were my in-laws. But eventually, I think it took about 6 months for me to get the hang of this new town and build familiarity where I could move around also on my own, because I was not going anywhere without my husband. Mm-hmm. He would always have to accompany me or follow me or come with me wherever and so forth. And I didn't have friends visiting me because I didn't have friends. And then I made a friend, and then that is also, she really helped me to get out and also see the town without you. And also meet a few other people and just build more familiarity.
We also had a lot of wine,
Oh no, we're not telling that story. I've embarrassed myself enough on this. On our first year wedding anniversary, on that day, our parents came, your family members came, my family members came, traveled from Windhoek. And then Daddy shared a word. I just wanted to share the word that Daddy shared with us on that day. And it is so profound. And we really took it, and we ran with it. And it was the book of Psalms 128.
Okay.
Where he said that, "Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him. You will eat the fruit of your labor. Blessings and prosperity will be yours. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Yes, this will be the blessing for the man who fears the Lord. May the Lord bless you from Zion. May you see the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life. May you live to see your children's children. Peace be on Israel." But that is the scripture that Daddy gave us. And until today, this year we're celebrating our 5th year wedding anniversary. And this scripture, we really still revisit it, still pray it over our lives, over our children. And it really sort of laid the foundation for what we are pursuing also as a couple and as a family.
That scripture really, from there on, things just started happening for us.
Yeah. So that was our first year.
Vir my, die moeilike tye van ons huwelik was toe ons dogtertjie verloor het, ons baba. That was the toughest times of our lives. That was tough. That was really, really, really tough. To recover from that, that was tough. It took a while, but that was the toughest moment that we endured, to be honest. If it's so tough on me, imagine how tough it was on my wife. It was very tough.
Yeah. I was even reflecting about that time towards our 5th year anniversary, and I was like, I never thought that we could make it through. And I'm just glad and thankful to God that we're on the other side, because it was not a pretty process. The healing was not a pretty. We fell pregnant. I fell pregnant in our therapist will always make a joke and say, these days people say we fell pregnant, while it's only the lady that falls pregnant. And now I did that. So yeah, we fell pregnant towards the end. Was it towards the end of? No, it was in 2019. Yeah, we fell pregnant in our second year. Yeah, we fell pregnant in our second year of marriage, just after we had actually celebrated our first year anniversary. We fell pregnant and we found out that I was pregnant and that it was a girl. We were too curious not to find out the gender, so we found out that it was a girl. And after 8 years, was it? Not 8 years, after 8 months,
Yeah.
we unfortunately had a stillbirth. Yeah, it was a really tough time because we had never in a million years thought that something like that was going to happen. There was no health scare, there was no concern. It was a pretty smooth sailing journey. It was my first pregnancy. Everybody was excited.
Yeah, but it was also a stressful time. As a family, we were also going through a very, very tough time. So
we were going through a tough time. But because I was sort of removed from the situation, being in Warfish Bay, I didn't really have that severe or that exposure to what was happening back home. And maybe I was also internalizing the stress. But the whole time we never had a scare of, and then all of a sudden, my blood pressure goes up. It's my first time being pregnant. The doctor we had at the time, I don't know, had a very different approach compared to maybe what I was expecting. And I also didn't know what to expect, but I definitely knew that what we were getting was not the best that he could have given.
Yeah.
And especially because Warfish Bay is such a small town and we've had so many people speak about him in a very positive light. But my experience with him was very different. And it was a first time for us, but definitely not a first time for him. And because we had entrusted our journey to a medical professional, we expected more in terms of communication, and when we raise issues, to be taken seriously. And when he was having a nonchalant approach or response, it also left us, not to worry about something. And only after things had happened and he was also on leave at the time without informing us, and it's a story for another day. But really, that was really the toughest time in our marriage, was when we lost our little girl. My husband got to see her. I, however, did not see her. I only saw the top part, like her hair, and that is what I remember.
Yeah, but I also just saw her from a distance.
Yeah.
I think the people that were with us during that time, okay, there was a nurse calling us to go see her, but we weren't ready.
Yeah.
And this Vasafa, what the lady from the mortuary just the same night, I think we could have seen her the next day when
the news had maybe sunk in.
Yeah.
But the lady was just already standing there to take the body away, because remember, it was 8 months, so they couldn't cremate. We had to bury her. So we had like a burial for her 2 days after the incident already.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, I don't wish someone to go through that process, losing a baby, especially at any stage.
At any stage, regardless of...
It's a tough thing.
Yeah, that was definitely the toughest time. But I think it was also a time that really shaped us in our faith. When we spoke about the first year of marriage, it was all happy. We were all happy-go-lucky, and then this thing happens that just rips our hearts out of our chest. Like, it was so bad, guys. Like, it was so bad, and like everybody was so excited for us, and like even the cashiers in the shops, and having to go back to start doing shopping. I remember we had to do our toiletry shopping and grocery shopping in Swakopmund, where no one knew us, like the cashiers didn't know us. So every month, and like for first couple of months, we'd drive down to Swakopmund, and because every time we try and go to a supermarket, people always ask like, hey, did the baby come already? Is it a boy or a girl? And at that point, I just wished like there could have been a public announcement to say, and I was also telling our therapist this, like, can there not be like a public announcement that already says that these people lost their baby, don't ask them about it or whatever. But then he said, part of the healing was actually being able to say or to respond and say that we actually lost the baby and so forth. But
how did Reggie respond?
Oh, there was even a funny story, when we were going through this tough time. So, a friend of my husband, him and he's awesome. He's got this very, very beautiful girlfriend. She's such a sweetheart. I really love her so much. So after the incident, when we now really started coming out and I could also move around out of the house, we spontaneously went over to their place, and the boys were playing TV games, or video games, and then I was just sitting there minding my business, and then she comes home from work, and then she comes into the house, and then she's like, so Reggie knew that we had lost the baby. She only knew about the pregnancy. So, and then she comes into the house, and then she's like, hi, lang klas vir julle gesien, and she greets us, and then she's like, hi bo, wat gaan hier aan? Hoekom is julle op julle eie? Waar is die babietjie? Hoe kan julle sonder die mens rondbeweeg? And while she's like asking the question, Reggie just starts, he's not saying anything. No, he's just playing and the two of them are looking at each other, and she's not stopping. She's not stopping. Reggie's just there. And she thinks that Reggie is talking about something else there.
Yeah.
And then he's like, Jennifer gesê nie. Nee, moes Jennifer gesê het. Oh, weet vir haar oor die swangerskap gesê. And then she's like, what is going on? And then what did he say?
Yeah.
Did I answer or did you answer? Oh, I think you answered.
Yeah.
And you said that we lost the baby, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And then she just left. Like, I think she went into the room until we went home.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, we came home. We got into the car to come drive back home. And we just got into the car, and then I start like, and then we just laughed there. And while we are laughing, our tears are running. That was like a very funny way of, like, we actually started laughing at our situation. That was the one time that we could laugh at, someone asking us about the baby.
Yeah.
But the other times, and I think especially for my husband, it was very tough because he had to be the bearer of the news. He was the one that was asked a lot of times, it's a did the baby come, is it a boy or girl? So he actually took a lot of the bullets because I was inside on maternity. I think there's like a 6-week maternity leave when you get. I remember we would go shopping and then we'd see our neighbor. Like I couldn't even tell our neighbors what had happened. And then I'd see the neighbor, and as we cross in this aisle, I quickly go into the other aisle because no one must see me because they will ask. And then eventually we make it to the cashier, and the cashier is asking. There was one lady, and I felt so bad after that, but she asked me like, was it a boy or a girl? And I just looked at her. I didn't even, and I don't think we owe anyone an answer, but these are people that had toch seen the tummy grow, and you know, and then they stop seeing you, and then they start seeing you, then they like in this expectation. That was really tough. Like every time we would go, hey, is it a scene of amazing? Like I don't know why people were so invested in us, but yeah, looking back, I didn't think we would make it through. I think there were so many times when I just wanted it to reverse. Like I wanted God to reverse the act, like take anything else, you know, but not my baby. And it also allowed me to acknowledge that my husband, in as much as he did not necessarily carry the baby, just to acknowledge also the pain that he was carrying through, because I could see it, and he was so invested in the pregnancy. I mean, he had such a bond with the baby, you know, even while I was asleep and he would come to bed and start talking or praying, then there would be a response from the baby would start kicking and, you know, just be awake and active at hearing his voice. And a lot of times, I think even on that day when it happened and he was crying, the older ladies were like, hey, you should not cry. If you cry, how do you think Sharon will be strong? You need to be strong for your wife and stuff. But then I was like, allow him, you know, to cry, because he also went through the whole journey. He is also feeling the loss. He is also feeling the pain. And it allowed me to see your emotions.
Yeah.
And there were some days when I was good and he was not. There were days when he was good and I was not. And I think particularly when I started going back to work, or you see another pregnant woman or someone that you don't even think notice your pregnancy would ask about your pregnancy. And I'd come home, when he gets me at work, I open the door and I'm just teary-eyed. And, you know, so it was really a time that made us very alert and aware of each other's emotions, and also just acknowledge that men also suffer the loss and they also go through the pain. And sometimes, especially for men, I mean, I know our parents were so amazing. I remember my parents also had to go to the therapist just to how to parent adult children that are going through trauma, because we were experiencing trauma or traumatic event. My younger sister was also going through a tough time. So the parents were really caught in the middle of how do we parent our adult children while they're going through trauma. And our therapist was really gracious enough also to see them briefly, just to equip them. And really going to therapy helped us heal. And the techniques that we would use or we would also share it with our parents, and they would also apply that, really, because it was a journey that we were all excited for. And I think it also allowed us to communicate about emotions. I don't think we really, in as much as we are really good at having tough conversations, my husband and I, but when it comes to the emotions, there was a bit of we were withholding it to a certain extent, but we were able to develop mechanisms on how to communicate. I remember there was a series that we were watching, and we were watching the series actually before the losing baby. A million little things, because you plan all these things, man. We moved to a bigger space, we got a car. At first we were staying in a place that was like right in town. We could walk to work, walk back, or it was like a 5-minute drive from work, and it was in the central part of town, so there was also really no need to have a car and all of that. But we made all these big adjustments and big changes, just for it to all come crumbling down. But the word of God says that our plans are not his plans and our ways are not his ways. I think a lot of times we try to control our lives, but then if we knew what was going to happen or what the future holds, even what tomorrow holds, I don't think we would need to have a God. We would need to have faith. That's why I think it's good that we are only getting one picture of something, of the bigger picture at a time, because it allows you to have faith. It allows you to hold on to God and hold on to his promises. So anyway, there was a series we were watching, A Million Little Things, during the pregnancy, and there was this couple of the brown guy that had wanting to commit suicide. So he took pills, and then he heard on the same day that another friend of his had jumped off a building, and he had already written down the suicide note and so forth. So fast forward, after they dealt with the friend, losing the friend, the wife now comes back. So he didn't continue to commit suicide. So the wife comes back and finds now his suicide letter in the bin, where he basically her concern was just the fact that he wanted to leave her alone without any answers, and why did he want to commit suicide in the first place, and what. And then in that conversation where they spoke about, the man was later diagnosed with depression, and it was found that his father had also suffered depression, but because it's things that in black communities and black culture we don't talk about, he did not know how to deal with it, and that is what had led him to want to, just end his life. And in that scene, they spoke about the flower and the gardener, where when it is difficult for him to communicate his emotions, when he's hitting that low, he does not have to say what is happening, but he can use the scenario of if the lady can be the gardener and if he can be the flower. And that already, was a code for, okay, now the lady has to step up and do the emotional support and allow him to go through this low and help pick himself up. So we also actually spoke about that, and we really liked the concept, and it's something that we were applying just for this, event to take place in our lives. And we could easily transition into it where my husband could openly say, you know what, I need you to take up being the gardener for the next 2 days. Maybe he had a dream about baby and it had affected him, when he woke up. So then I would know that I would not bug him about unnecessary things and so forth, and just be a support until he feels his feelings through. Maybe see the therapist on his own, and because we would not experience the highs and the lows at the same time. Some days we would, other days not so much, but yeah, just to be able to sort of navigate and accept or love around each other's emotions at that time. When I was going through the low, I would say, and I've been the flower for the most part of our lives, you are such a gardener, always taking care of me and so forth, and I could step up in the role of being a gardener and help you. But then when I needed to be the flower on a given day, then I would, say, Ish, today I read this in a journal that I was writing during the pregnancy, or I heard her name being mentioned somewhere, or so that is basically how we navigated it. We got through it with God, with prayer, therapy, our parents, Mama and my mom and dad, sure, they and your grandparents, they really, I think thereafter we went to Omaruru to go spend some time with my husband's grandfather, them, just to escape maybe the Wolfish Bay reality. And my parents decided, you know what, they stayed for us with for a few months, and really just prayed through the process. But we came out, we're on the other side. I think it's been a while since we've had clashes. I want to fight, get it over with, make up, and then let's move on.